Today we'll be learning how to make the question filter. You can see it above and stick around if you want to learn how to make it. Hey guys, welcome to Spark AR. So when you open your newly downloaded Spark AR program, you will be greeted with this page. You can see there's a bunch of templates, which I think would be like really fun to play around with if we have time at the end. But we're actually going to be starting from scratch and we will be making a question game. So you're going to click blank project and it's going to bring up this window. So first off, I'm going to save mine so I can make sure that I actually save it. And I'm just going to call it question game. So what you can see here is the UI that we're going to use to develop our filter. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the camera to our webcam. You don't have to do this, but I prefer to do this just because I can like move my head around and make sure that it looks good. So there we go. So very first, we are going to be changing our AR tester to simulate touch because that's what we're going to be using. And I have forgotten to do that in the past and been really confused. So I'm just going to set that up first things first. And yeah, so I'm just going to dive right into this. So we are making the question game. So the end goal is we're going to have a question panel on our heads. And then when you tap the screen, it's going to flick through for 2.5 seconds and it's going to land on a random one at the end. What we need to do first is to add a face tracker because that is how the plane will stick to your face. So you're going to find this add object button down here. Do add object and click face tracker and insert your face tracker right here. So from there, we're going to add a plane. So if you do add object and type in plane, it will appear and you'll insert it. So first things first, we want to add this plane under our face tracker. So you do that by clicking it and embedding it like that. So you can see it is stuck on our face now, but it's right in front of our face. So we don't want it there. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this little turquoise handle and pull it up on our forehead. So I will also, it looks pretty good actually. I might push it back a little bit. So I'm going to grab this blue handle and just push it back a tiny bit just so it's like closer depth wise to my forehead. And I also want it to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go over here to the scale and I'm going to add a 0.25 onto the X and Y so it can stay a square. And I'm actually going to bump that up just a little bit more because I don't want it covering my eyebrows. So this is going to be our question plane. So we're just going to rename it to question to keep organized. And then we're also going to add an answer plane. And we're going to do that by duplicating our question plane and then just renaming it to answer. If I can spell answer correctly, apparently. So now we have our two main planes. So where we're going to go from here is we're going to add a texture, which is going to be our questions and our answers. So to add the texture, what you have to do first is add a material that corresponds to each plane. So first we're going to make the question plane, or the question material, sorry, and it's going to appear down in your asset folder. So we're going to just rename that to question mat just to stay organized. Then we're going to go over to answer and do the same thing, create a new material and rename it to answer mat. So we got materials, but you can see it's gray. So now we're going to actually add the real question texture. So how you do that is you select your material, and I'm going to do question first, and then go over here to texture and do new texture. and we are going to find our Spark AR folder, and we're going to do which niche grade are you? Because I haven't done that one yet. So we've added our texture, and it was being blocked by our answer tab because it's in front of it. So if you turn off your answer tab, you can see your question. And you can see that it's kind of dark. So what we're going to do is we're going to up this ambient light to about like 30-ish, just to make it a little bit more true to its color. So now we're going to make the question plane not visible and make the answer plane visible again. And we're going to add the answer texture. But we're going to do this slightly differently because I spelled answer wrong again. But anyways, we're going to do this slightly differently because it needs to flick through a bunch of different images. So what we're going to do is click answer mat and do a new animation sequence instead. And we're going to name that Answer Annie. Annie for animation. So how you add your texture or your image answer images to that is you select it and go up to this texture and choose files. Then you will select all 4 of your answers or 5 of your answers and insert them. And you can see it's flicking through them, which is a little crazy. So we're going to turn off this loop control just for now. And there you go. So we have both of our textures activated and we're doing great. So what we're going to do from here now is we're going to actually start to code the AR filter. So we have to go up and do view and find the show and hide patch editor. So this is kind of how you code in Spark AR. It's like assisted coding almost. It can be a little confusing, and to be completely honest, like I'm not like an amazing coder, so some things I just kind of know how to do and it works, but I can't give you an explanation why it works, but I will try my best. So let's begin. And we are first going to be coding that, like when you tap the screen, that it will turn your question tab off and show your answer tab. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our first patch. So how you do that is you go down to this patch editor field and right click, and this pops up. And we are going to be looking for the screen tap patch. And when you find them, you can see it will explain what each patch does a little bit more. As the screen tap is capturing when somebody taps the device screen, so that will activate the filter. So we're going to be adding that. Then we're going to be adding a switch path, which is using a pulse signal to turn a Boolean signal on or off. So that will be how we're turning off our question and answer plane. And we're going to add a not path because we're going to connect one of the planes to the not and one just directly to the switch. So it will like alternate which planes are being shown. And we are going to go up to our question and grab this visible over here. And we're going to do the same thing for the answer visible and just put them like around here. So you can see they already connected over here, but if they didn't connect, what you're going to do is click, you want to do the gesture state to the flip, then you're going to do this on off to the not, and then not to the visible, and the switch to the answer. So what we've just done is now it defaults to showing the question plane, and to change it to the answer plane, you have to tap your screen. So you can see over here, that's also like why we need this simulate touch activated, because that's how the filter is used. So at this point, you should be able to tap between your question and your answer. And we have finished the first part of coding this AR filter. So now we will be making the animation cycle. So as you see, when you click it, it just goes to one frame, and that's not what we want. We want it to flick through all of the images we uploaded. So underneath this little doodad we have over here, let me make that a little bit bigger. We're going to add an animation loop path, which will drive the animation to loop repeatedly. We're going to add a random patch, which is going to randomize our animation sequence and randomize our final texture being shown. We're going to add a round because it will round it to the nearest full number, which is important for like bringing up the image. And then we will be going over to our animation sequence, select it, and do this current frame and bring it up over here. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to link the animation looped, not the first one, the animation looped, it's the second one down here, to the randomize. Then we're going to link the random to the round and the round to the answer. And then we're going to link the animation loop enable to the switch. So you can see it is cycling through them, but it is hella slow. So we want to change that. So go over to the loop animation duration, and I'm going to do 0.05 seconds, make it a little bit faster. And you can see it's only flicking between two images, and we want to flick between all. So we need to make our range, 5. And now it will flick through all of them. And so we officially have the click that switches it to the answer, and it starts flicking through them all, but it doesn't stop. So that is what we're going to accomplish next here. So what we're going to do for that is we are going to add a runtime patch, which will track the time that's passed when the effect is activated. We're going to add, I'm trying to make sure it doesn't connect, an offset patch. We're going to add a less than patch, which will let it know when it needs to stop. Then we are going to add a pulse patch, which is going to go around this area. And we're going to add an ant patch. So it doesn't have to be set up exactly like mine, but it just kind of makes more sense like when it's set up kind of like this, just to like due to how each patch is like being connected with each other. So once you have all your patches down, you're going to take your runtime connector and connect it to offset value. And then we're going to take the offset to less than input first. And we're going to change this to 2.5 seconds because that's how long we want our filter to run for, or not the filter, the flicking. Then we're going to connect less than to our second Boolean, not the first Boolean, the second. And then we're going to disconnect this and connect our and to our loop animation enable. Then we're going to do our and first Boolean to switch. Then we're going to connect our switch to our pulse. And then we're going to connect our pulse to our reset input. And now it should work. Let's see. Look at that. It did work. And I'm a C+ niche rating, which is to be expected, I suppose. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope this made sense. But